What's going on, Sens fans? Welcome back to another post-game coverage. I'm here with Jack, and another guest today. We have Brandon from the Locked On Sens podcast as well. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing?
Good. Hey, anytime the Sens get a 6-1 win, you can bet I'm in a pretty good mood.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a 3-game winning streak for the first time this season. Just great mood.
Oh, yeah. Like, man, do you guys even remember the days where we were looking at 9-game losing streaks, like the 12-2 and I think 1 record to start the season?
Yeah.
That seems like a lifetime ago. Like, the Sens are hot. The kids are feeling it. And 3-game win streak, 2 against the Habs, one against the Flames here. That's looking pretty nice.
I mean, I was just saying to Jacob before, I don't have any animosity against the Flames. Like, the only real connection is the Kachucks, I guess. But for some reason, there's something sweet about beating up on these teams that were supposed to be playoff contenders, right? Coming into this season, every single team in the North was expected to make the playoffs except for Ottawa. And I remember earlier in the year, I saw some Flames people on Twitter saying, that they haven't played Ottawa yet, so those are like free wins or whatever. Yeah. So it's a little extra sweet beating them 6-1 and having the Sens' best game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like what you said about that, because I think a lot of teams, when they saw the Sens start, they're thinking, sweet, we're going to get a bunch of points here. We're all going to get goals and assists tonight. And when you start off your first game of the season, I think they're going to play them like 9 times this year, and you start off with a 6-1 win. That's making a statement. Ooh.
And not just 6 times, or not just 9 times all season, but 5 times in the next 11 days is what they were saying. So it doesn't go anywhere else after this.
Yeah, like we have that one game against Montreal, and otherwise, like we've just got Calgary for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And with a team that seems like they're having a culture and identity crisis, now's a good time for the Sens to hop all over them, because
Absolutely.
I'll tell you one thing, the Sens culture and identity seems pretty strong when you look at a team like Calgary here.
I had my tweet of the night tonight was that when after Austin Watson blocked that shot, it's 5-1, and he's laying out to block a shot, and you could just hear the bench just getting all fired up for it. That's how you know this team is tight together, and they want to play for their coach, which is more than you can say for half the teams in this league, it seems like. It's just great to see. It's hard not to enjoy times like this. And they're 7-14-1, and here we are sitting all giddy about the team. It's great.
Yeah, really though. But yeah, like right out of the gate, that game started incredibly. Like halfway through the game, the shots were 20-6. Like there was nothing to complain about for most of this game.
I actually thought until Batherson's goal that the Flames were kind of carrying the pace.
Yeah.
But then, just that skill takes over. Like stop me if you've heard it before, but Batherson opens the scoring again.
Yeah.
Just great from him. He's on absolute fire.
Yeah. Keeping that point streak rolling is so nice for him. Like he had all the chances in the world to start the season. Stuff just wasn't clicking. And there was talks like, you got to move him down lineup, maybe scratch him for 1 game so he gets a different viewpoint, etc. Drake wasn't hearing any of that. He knew his game was strong. He knew keep sticking to what he's doing. And the points are coming now. And I want to highlight on that play too. Talk about Timmy Stutzle's shot. I think that was a on purpose rebound pass kind of play. That was a low shot that you're probably not going to score on many times. But when you see your winger on the far side driving to the net, you take that low shot and hope that rebound goes exactly where it went. And Drake Batherson doesn't make any mistake there.
So on that play too, the Stützle shot, they had it from the other side, the angle on the replay. And a lot of the times, I'm not a goalie, but when a player shoots for that, the goalie knows what they're doing. They'll get their stick in the way, so deflect it up, right? The way that Stützle shot it was too high to get the stick. Like it was perfect, right around 14 to 10 inches above the ice. And Batherson cashes in. That was a bouncing puck too. It takes a lot of skill to bang in a rebound like that. And man, watching them together, like I didn't even notice Artem Anisimov at all. Like it doesn't matter.
The guy that set that up,
right.
And going on with saying how much skill it takes to make that kind of play, Jack, I think more importantly, it takes confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like Drake, he knows he had a wide open net there. You think a guy that's on a 3-game point streak and that has like 4 goals in the last 5 games is going to miss a chance where there's a bouncing puck and there's a wide open net? Nah, he's feeling it. He's hot.
Yeah, he's been interviewed, I think, the last 2 games, and he keeps touching on how the bounces are going his way, and that's just it's a goal scorer's bounce,
Yep.
it's so great to see, especially him. I like watching him play because he's kind of the dark horse, I think, with the prospects. Kind of got forgotten a bit last year, even though he had a fantastic year in Belleville. But man, it's good times being a Sens fan, which is more than I could say for a month ago.
Yeah, absolutely. This team, and like, there's a comment here from Dave, and he says, "Have the Sens turned a corner?" And I think absolutely. Like, I'm not saying that this team deserves a playoff spot from the beginning of the year, whatever, but they're definitely out of the same position they were when this year started. So, definitely on the uphill.
Yeah, 100%. And I would even say this team turned a corner about a week and a half ago. Like, sure, the wins weren't there. But guys, since that 5-1 Jets loss, the Sens have been in all these games. They might not get the win all the time, but like low scoring games, 2-1, 3-2, just 1-goal deficits. Those kind of games are happening, and they're starting to get rewarded with it. And when you get a team of so much young talent that finally is like, yo, we can hang with these guys. Like, we're not on 9-game losing streaks anymore. We're like, did you guys see any real good scoring chances other than that Monahan chance out front when Branstrom turned it over? Other than that, like, there was no exciting Flames chances. There was no like energy driven shifts, like no like major puck possession in the ozone. Like, this team just looks stale.
So Brandon, it's really interesting hearing you say the no energy from the Flames, because I was listening to you and Ross interview Haley this morning.
Yeah, nice.
And when she said that Matthew Tkachuk feels like there's a divide in the culture, like Tkachuk, I like Brady more personally, like the way he plays. I think he's bigger, he's more effective that way as that kind of player. But Matthew I think has more skill, I'd say. But anyways, you could see he was trying to do something, and there's just no life on that Flames team. It's crazy, and it's kind of like if you're Matthew. I was listening to his media before the game, and he's saying like the way Brady's team is talking about him, and like just he has to be so jealous right now. And I'm not trying to put in the head that a Matthew Tkachuk to the Sens trade is imminent, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a major shakeup in Calgary at some point.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. And that's the thing, like when we were talking about Haley, like it just kind of surprised us. Like here in Ottawa, Brady dragging people into the battle and Brady starting those battles to cause an emotional spark. That's what we're all about here. Like that's the best part of this hockey team, really, is when things aren't going well, and who the heart and soul of this team, who picks them up? Brady Tkachuk, whether it's offensive chances right in his office out front of the net, or Ben Sherrod gives him a hit he doesn't like in the corner and he busts his nose open. He doesn't take any crap from anyone, you know? Like, that's the kind of energy that the guys on the locker room and on the bench love. So if you're a Calgary Flames team that's struggling, isn't that exactly what you want to get going? Is an emotional spark or something to get things going? But it doesn't seem like that's what that group wants, apparently.
No. And the thing that you mentioned too, for those of you who didn't listen to it, it was a great interview, but the way that she said, is it Gaudreau and Monahan's team or Tkachuk's team, says to me that they're going to go down one way or the other. I feel like the easier way would be move Monahan and Gaudreau, get more pieces back because, Tkachuk's the younger one, but that's not really important for us. But it tells me, and tonight was so evident, that there's an absolute divide in that locker room. Speaking of our Tkachuk, he led all forwards in ice time tonight with no power plays, which is really rare. I don't know the last game I've seen with no penalties, but led the team in ice time, or led the forwards in ice time, just under 20 minutes tonight. So he drives the bus, and the bus is going at full tilt right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're going to take a look at time on ice, that's the top time on ice. You guys were talking about a bit before the show. How about Evgeny Dadonov, the lowest amount of ice time of any forward? And he didn't look great tonight, but that's a rare occurrence to see your top offensive guy, your veteran goal scorer, be all the way down there in a 6-1 game. Like, usually that's a game where you're like, man, Evgeny Dadonov was on the ice all the time. He had all these chances. Not this time, though.
Yeah. He did pick up an assist, I guess, on one of the last goals.
Getting an assist, which, hey, he's still getting it done, so that's good.
And I've mentioned this to Jack, I think, before you joined, Brandon, but Evgeny Dadonov didn't play that bad of a game when he didn't have the puck, I found. I found this was actually one of his better games than when he didn't have the puck. Obviously, he didn't generate a whole bunch with the puck. He got the assist on that last Colin White goal. But otherwise, like, defensively, he looked great, but offensively just wasn't there, which is very different to see from him and not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. I don't want to be paying $5 million for 11 minutes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But then you start looking at this, and if I'm going to be a glass half full kind of guy, isn't this a positive situation? The veteran you brought in to score goals barely played. You still scored 6 goals on the backs of the exact guys you want. Drake Batherson, Colin White getting 2 goals. I mean, Brady had a bunch of chances, 6 shots, 9 hits. How are you? Brady Tkachuk. But these are the guys you want to get going. And I'm so stoked for Colin White, because I really thought that we were going to have to take a look at Colin White and be like, look, we gave him his contract a little early. Maybe the Mark Stone effect kind of gave us all rose-colored glasses, and we thought he was more offensively, had more production than he does. And we're going to have to start looking at him as a third-line checking center. Yeah. I'm not thinking that way anymore. Like, he's clicking. That Nick Paul, Colin White, Evgeny Dadonov line really seems to have some chemistry. So Colin White is turning it around, and that's starting to look like a good contract once again.
I like the way I thought he was a little bit slow tonight, kind of, and he struggled again in the face-off circle. But I mean, that line with Dadonov and Paul has just been the most consistent one all season, and they had been a little quieter in the last few games against Montreal, I found, since the Toronto series. But they came back tonight for sure. Nick Paul had a great game again.
Yeah, and it is worth mentioning that even with 2 goals for Colin White and an assist each for Paul and Dadonov, they were 3 of the bottom 4 for time on ice for forwards. And only Pekka in there above Dadonov. So
I think part of that too is, and I kind of wanted to touch on this anyways, the fourth line tonight looked pretty great, to be honest. I don't know if I've said that many times about the fourth line, but I love Austin Watson. I'm a big Austin Watson fan. He's so fun to watch.
He really is.
And then Pekka, I mean, I didn't catch much of that blowout against Toronto where he played. I think that was the only game he's played this season other than tonight. I mean, in the first period, he was great. He was fast. He had that great first shift. And I mean, when you're comparing what he brings versus what Michael Haley brings, it's a no-brainer at this point, right? Maybe I wouldn't move him anywhere else up in the lineup, but that's a no-brainer to have him over Michael Haley.
Yeah, I'm a big Pekka fan. And what I like about him too is you can tell, like, it's pretty easy to tell when that fourth line's on the ice and there's 3 forwards and one of them is a guy that is fighting tooth and nail to get 5 minutes of ice time in the NHL every night. And that was Pekka. Like, he was grinding after loose pucks. He was battling in the corner. He was playing physical, like he was making responsible choices. Like, that's the kind of guy I want on my fourth line. And thank God the Paquette experience is over. The Galchenyuk experience didn't really work. Anisimov is starting to look okay mixed in here, but who knows how he gets deployed once Dzingle's back. The step band injury kind of throws a wrench in there too, but I don't have any problem seeing Matthew Pekka on this fourth line consistently.
No, me neither.
I agree.
Only thing I would say, I guess, is Tierney had a much better game tonight.
He did.
And he was kind of on that fourth line, I guess, kind of squished a couple times with Anisimov maybe, but that's a perfect game where if you're not a team that's suited to throw at all 4 lines, your top guys are going to get gassed because there were no penalties, no power plays. So that's no one's over 20 minutes on the forwards, which is not something you could say for the last few games for the Sens. So that's a good thing, I think, and it's what all the contending teams do.
Definitely. And it's a good thing too when you have a young lineup. Like, each of these lines are going to have legs, right? Like, each line you can expect is going to bring energy, have speed, and with a little hint of offensive touch in there too, right? So I think the Sens forward core is really starting to shape out nicely. And if you see these young guys continue to kind of perform at where we're expecting them and to continue to develop, I don't really have any problems with the forward core. It's the D core with the kind of mix and matched veterans that haven't worked that I think is going to still take some work. But you start looking at the pipeline coming up defensively. And if they turn out like they're supposed to, the young defensive prospects, then you're looking at a nice D core too. So all is good in Sens land. It's just about being patient and waiting for that right window to appear. And hey, guys, we're a goalie-friendly show on Locked On Senators. How about that performance from Matt Murray? Like, Sure, like I said, there wasn't a lot of high danger scoring opportunities, but when he had to be there, he was there. Like the Sens really didn't outshoot the Flames that badly. I'm just looking at it here, 31-30. Like you wouldn't have thought that based on the score. That's insane.
Well, since the Flames took that timeout, I found they picked it up. They had like 5 shots in one shift, but Murray, like the bulk of his work was in the third period, and we're used to seeing it this season. You know, the Sens end up out shooting their opponents and losing like 6-1 sometimes because the third period they're just all over the place. So Murray had to be good, or it could have gotten out of hand. It was only 4-1 going into the third, right? I thought he looked great. The thing with him, he just needs to string a few more of these together. Obviously, February has been much better for him. I guess the only outlier, I guess, is that one game against Toronto last week. That was not great. So he is, I guess, stringing them together. But the more he does it, you can tell the team plays so much differently when he's in that. Yeah, that's all I got on Murray.
Yeah, I mean, his save percentage over the last since February 4th, like 947, 938, 941, 1, and then he has an 800, 769, 889. But that's 1, 2.
One of them was a win, at least. It was
5, 6. 7.
And one of those bad games was when he came in for Hogberg, right?
Right.
Yeah. But so that's 7 games since the 4th that he's at over a 930 save percentage.
So we often say that he just needs to be better than the goalie in the other end, and I think tonight he was definitely better.
Yeah.
Big Save Dave didn't really show up for the Flames tonight. I watched the game against Toronto last night. Just kind of, I haven't really watched any Flames games, and I wanted to see what they were all about. And man, they couldn't buy a goal, and then they end up winning in overtime. I was really shocked to see him start tonight, just deflating, and then they go down 2-0 in the first, and you just kind of got that sense that it was one of those games. So, and I mean, the Brandstrom goal from center ice was to top it all off. But I do want to say that's a really smart play by Brandstrom.
Yeah, Keith Yandel did the exact same thing last year. And it's just such a smart and confident play. Like what happened was, so he was looking down the left boards where he was, and he was going to dump it in over the blue line and hope the goalie goes out back and it bounces out front maybe. But no, just right onto, I don't remember. Oh yeah, that was still Riddick at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just flutter puck goes right through Riddick, and I love to see that.
It's a common play.
Definitely. And I think but what happened there too is to kind of echo your statements about a smart play is Brandstrom read the play and saw, I don't know who the defenseman was. Maybe, no, it wasn't Hanifin that time, but there was a Flames defenseman that was kind of acting as a little bit of a screen. And as a goalie, like the worst thing you want is a player winding up for a long shot, because the whole time you're just thinking, oh my God, I better stop this or I'm going to look so foolish. And you cramp up and you get nervous. And that one kind of was a flutter puck. Like it kind of like tilted angles on the way. I don't think it deflected on anything, but just the way the puck changed its angle kind of confused him. But as a goalie, you got to know you're not trying to save that puck. You're trying to make those long shots hit you. Like get your whole body in front of that. Don't try to glove it down or stop it. Make it hit you. And when a goal like that goes in, that's when it's, I think the producer of TSN panned over to the backup goalie after that shot, because those are usually the ones where night's over. But hey,
that was
you gotta give Riddick some slack. 3rd game in 4 nights, and you went from, sure, Toronto to Ottawa is not far, but still, that's a hefty load for a guy who Markstrom was carrying the load this whole season until he got injured. Like I think Riddick only got 1 or 2 games in before this, so that's a lot for him to pick up after that. So was not put in a position to succeed here for Riddick.
He was also, I mean, when Brandstrom scored, I want to say the Flames had 8 shots maybe all game.
Yeah.
So they're not getting any help offensively. And I mean, if I'm the Flames, I wouldn't blow anything up until Markstrom gets back. But then again, Markstrom was in net when they played the Oilers, and the Oilers lit them up last weekend. So he's not going to, maybe he won't be the saving grace. He's definitely one of the better goalies in the division, I'd say. He's carrying it over from what he did in Vancouver last season. So I would wait until he's there. But we're firsthand, we can say what good goaltending does for a team, right? Look at the Sens now versus last month. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about another defenseman, Brandstrom's partner, because that's back-to-back games, in my opinion. Goodbranson's been so solid.
Yeah.
And I definitely think Brandstrom has an impact on that. But aside, like the goal aside tonight, he's just solid, not worried when he has the puck on his stick, just physical, and that's what you need from Eric Goodbranson. That's all you want.
Yeah,
right?
he's been a workhorse in the defensive zone, like
Yeah.
in the corners all the time, and like he took a rough check from Anderson last night in the corner,
Yeah.
Or the night before, or whatever. But he's not scared to go in the corner. Like he's a big guy and everything. Everybody knows that. But even more than that, like he's not scared to be the one to go 2 feet away from the boards if that's where he has to be. And it's really good to have that leadership on the team, because you don't want to see a guy like Stützle or Batherson go in there in the corner. So,
no, exactly. And say what you will about plus minus, but him and Brandstrom were both +3 tonight.
Yeah.
So that's not bad for your third pairing.
And that's huge for Goody, because I don't know if you guys have been following the Green Jacket leaderboard of plus minus this year, but Goody has been on the top of that list with Timmy, unfortunately, for quite a while.
Timmy's a +1 tonight.
Yeah, so that's good to get a couple warmer temperatures up there for the plus minuses for the boys.
And I thought the broadcast hit on it well too. Like they mentioned plus minus and then said, "Oh, it's not a huge stat." But the players, like when I was playing, I'd always think about, "Oh, I'm a minus there,"
Yeah.
So they know when they're a minus.
I think the only time it's actually a telling stat is if it's either really high one way, really low one way, and consistent, right?
The
like
extremes,
you got a guy that one season he's like a -3, then next season is like a +7 and kind of bounces all over the place. It's not really that telling, but when you get consistent minus machines, then it's pretty obvious that maybe you are a part of the problem.
Yeah. There's a comment here that says more Zub. I disagree, because he hit 20 minutes for the first time in his career tonight.
21 and a half.
Yeah, 21 and a half minutes. Obviously, Zub has been great for us, and the more the merrier. Maybe playing with Shabbat, but Zaitsev has been doing good up in that slot. But I can't really ask for much more of Zub, so that's just kind of my thoughts. I think he's like 20 minutes tonight, tied with Zaitsev-ish. I think that's perfect.
I mean, that's got to be his career high. I think that's his season high.
It is for sure.
Yeah. He had never really broken
20, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely. So that's encouraging to see as well. I think, again, no power play helps that a lot.
Yeah, definitely, because it's a 5-on-5 kind of guy. Brandstrom, Riley, and Shabbat are getting that power play time at man advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of crazy what all even strength does for ice time for everyone. It's interesting to watch it, but yeah, I mean, there's not much else to talk about other than the fact that this was just like their best game all season, all round, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And what I liked here is the Sens got up to that lead early and then kept the gas pedal on for quite a while. Like they didn't really take the gas pedal off till the goalie switch. And at that point, you're kind of feeling pretty good about yourself, especially when the goalie, I'm gonna ruin his name if I try to say it. So I'm not Zagadulin.
That might have been it.
I think that's it. Zagadulin. When he comes in and that's your first NHL action, then you're feeling pretty good. Although he made a couple decent saves, he did all right there. I see a comment down here. Might as well touch on that. No penalties all game is wild. Like you said, when you see a whole game 5-on-5, it's really interesting. But I think that's more telling, and this is kind of the Flames culture. You're losing 6-1 and you don't mix in any kind of rough stuff or any animosity or get anything going in game 1 when you get embarrassed by the last place team of the division, huh?
Well, so if you're Matthew Tkachuk, right, going back to your guys' interview with Haley, and they're saying that, and in that, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but she said that they had a players only meeting, I guess, and in that meeting, apparently what was said was that they said to Tkachuk, it can't be a battle every night. So I'm looking at a game like tonight, 6-1, it was 3-1 in the middle of the second. You're Milan Lucic. What is stopping you? This is old school hockey. What's stopping you from going up to Eric Goodbranson and just dropping the gloves? right?
Well, you're the Flames' best goal scorer at that point. You're the only guy that's got a puck past Murray. You can't be sitting there for 5 minutes.
And I just that to me, like, if there's no battle, no willing to battle, that's very telling. And I would not be happy to be a Flames fan right now.
Well, and like, how weird does Matthew have to feel? Like it's like engraved in his blood, like
right,
to battle, to fight, especially when you're down like that. But he's probably sitting there on the bench being like, I got to be a good boy. Like, Flames don't want me to act out. I'm just going to, if this is how we're going to do it, I guess I'm just going to go down with the ship quietly. And you could even see on the bench, like, I don't want to watch a lot of Flames games either, but I assume Matthew would be a guy on the bench that's chirping. He's getting into it. He's talking with teammates. Nothing. I didn't see him talk to a single teammate. I didn't see a smile on his face. Like, it was pretty just neutral all over for these Flames.
100%.
The only Flames games I've watched recently in recent years are the Battle of Alberta.
Yeah.
So I kind of caught. I didn't watch any of that one actually, but when the Oilers thumped them, I think it was a week ago now. When that happened, I feel like that's got to be the most deflating thing for that locker room, right? Like, those are games that are just so entertaining, and like both teams look like Stanley Cup contenders. They're just firing on all cylinders, and I think it was 7-1 final. It was something brutal, but that had to take the wind out of the sails. If you're Matthew Tkachuk and like that's his kind of game, just basically like Brady last night against Montreal, or last game, it's the same kind of vibe. If you're Matthew Tkachuk and your team doesn't want to fight when they're losing that badly, that, like, McDavid walked through them. He put up 5 points before the game hit the halfway point.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond, I think, because they're now under 500. They're 9-10-2.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I don't know how Montreal is doing tonight, but they're 9-5-4, so they're right at 500 pretty much. The Sens sickos are striking. I guess we could talk about that because Twitter was so fun tonight.
Twitter is fun, and like you have Sens DJ. I forget his name. I'm sorry, Alex something. But he's playing sicko mode after every goal after the second one. I think
just a little like snippet right when they drop the puck.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, if that's going to be the Sens anthem, that's a pretty banging song to have as an anthem. So I'll take it.
I'm feeling. I mean, we have a comment somewhere in here. It was a bit higher, I think, and it was touching on like, it's right here. I think we're going to make a run.
Oh yeah, I meant to click that one. Yeah.
Now look, I'm not here to make any preemptive, decisions or remarks, but
firing up the hot take machine. Let's go.
The way the culture on this team is, and the pieces are there right now in place, not to be a contending for the top spot in the division, but look at the teams that are ahead of them. It's Vancouver, Calgary, and Montreal at the moment. Those are, I think, in that order as well. I mean, I'd like to see them finish this round against Calgary, these batch of games. Yeah. And then I want them to play Vancouver again, because that was the worst that the Sens have played in a long time, and they're a completely new team right now. So I'm not saying that a playoff run is probable, but at this point I don't see this team finishing last in the division anymore.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if I'm quite ready to toss around the playoff word just yet, but it definitely, like, finishing 6th or even 5th is very attainable. Like, I can see the Sens leapfrogging 2 teams here, whether it's a struggling Vancouver Canucks team or a identity-less Calgary Flames team. Like, there is some room for some movement here, but then I start thinking, what's management's play going to be here, right? Like, if you start making a hot run, how do you play this? Do you start picking up some more veterans and trying to get it to work? Do you sell off veterans? What do you do? Because I'm not too stoked about all the veteran additions they've made this year. They seemed like they were going to work, but really, out of all of them, like, Dadonov started to pick it up, so that's great. But I would say Watson has performed kind of best to his
most consistent
ability.
for sure.
And, consistency. So we'll see how that goes. Derek Stepan out for a while. I think also it's going to be real interesting to see what they do with Ryan Dzingel. That's going to be kind of their ace up their sleeve right now, eh? Like they're kind of getting ready to go here, and then Dzingel gets inserted into this lineup. Hopefully we know he's going to bring speed, but hopefully can bring some of that offense again. And who knows, maybe, you get a team that can continue to stay hot here.
Well, hey, put him with where Pekka was, credit to Pekka, he had a great game, but you slide Dzingel in there when he finds his game. And this, down the left side, you got Tkachuk, Stützle, Paul, and then Dzingel. I mean, that's going to compete with anyone the way these guys are playing right now. I will say about a playoff push, if this team were, like, let's say they win 10 out of their next 12 games, right? And they're in that, they're going to be in the hunt if they do that. So if you're Dorion, I think you look at the Hamburglar run as a complete blueprint. I don't think at that time that they made any drastic moves. They didn't sell anyone, but they also didn't get any rentals. I think in a COVID world, it's a perfect time to not get a rental because you get someone at the trade deadline, they're going to play like 5 games before
unless you trade within the Canadian division.
Right. And then you're like, oh well, what teams in the Canadian division are going to sell? And it's a small cohort, but I mean, a lot of people, I guess, have been speculating, who should they draft if they get a top pick again, and they could very well end up inside the top 5 or the top 10 again. Yeah. But this draft, I haven't done a ton of studying, but it's not as deep as the.
Well, there's not much to study, Jack. Like I can't really blame you. There's only so much hockey that these prospects are playing.
Yeah. But I mean, easy way to think about it is the 2020 World Juniors had about 7 or 8 draft eligible prospects. I think this recent one had like 1, and I think it was Beniers on USA. Yeah. So that just tells you how deep it is, I guess, in terms of that top end talent. Like, so it's not as enticing, I guess, to tank this season. So I wouldn't be opposed to them making a push and screwing over their lottery odds a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like this season is a weird one. Like this is your transition season from full rebuild. Let's trade anyone with any sort of value. That those days are gone, right?
Yeah.
The Sens proved that in this offseason, getting Murray, getting Stepan, adding veteran defensemen, all these kind of moves. And I think that not this year, but next year, there's going to be a realistic, legitimate expectations on this team.
Yeah.
To not only make the playoffs, but be able to make some noise in the playoffs too, especially if they can stay healthy. Like if another year of Tim Stützle developing, another year of Josh Norris developing, we get hopefully some guys from the pipeline up on defense as well. Like this team has the makings, and hey, you got the good jerseys to look good while you're doing it too. That's a big part of it. And they've got everything in place here to potentially have a good group here.
Yeah. Can we just touch on how nice that game looked tonight?
The Calgary whites are probably my favorite whites in the whole league. So
nice. So nice. So I could get used to looking at these teams play so often in the next little bit, but I mean, hey, I got a kind of a question, I guess. We've now seen every single team in the Canadian division against Ottawa. So who would you say, I mean, it's a bit recency bias will probably play a factor, but who would you say has been the biggest, why does this team have so much hype, and who has been the biggest, we need to take them more seriously?
Probably with the hype one, I'm going to go with the Montreal Canadiens. I liked Bergevin's moves and his ideas in the offseason, but that team just, they don't, and Ross and I talked about this on our show, they don't have a number one guy. Both of you, Jack, Jacob, I'll ask you, who is the Montreal Canadiens' best player?
Shea Weber.
Yeah, probably Shea Weber.
Or Petrie this year, I guess, but nobody on the forward core.
Petrie's a good player, but
it's tough to really nail down one person. Like they don't have that guy that they can turn to. And Carey Price was supposed to be that guy, but he looked pretty mediocre to me up against the Ottawa Senators. And what was the second question? The team that isn't doing well?
No, the team that you said, okay, these guys are for real. I guess.
Now that we've seen them, I can say that.
Yeah.
honestly, of all those teams, probably the Jets looked the best up against the Sens anyways, right? Mm-hmm. Like when Hellebuck was playing good, and that was the Sens saw a lot of them without Luc Dubois or Patrick Laine or Roslovic. So we saw them at a weak point in their roster, really. So get Pierre-Luc Dubois inserted in there, get Hellebuck in there, and that decor, it may not seem great on paper, but I think they're better than they look. That's a team that I kind of had pegged as 6th place or 5th place, not really in the top 4, but they're looking good to me, at least from what I've seen from the Sens. I haven't watched them in other games, really.
Definitely
I agree.
Yeah,
you got the same too, Jacob?
Yeah, I couldn't say it any differently.
I think I'd go with Montreal as the one that's been the most disappointing or overrated. I go overrated and underrated. I guess that's the better way to say it. So Montreal for sure. And I'm thinking, last game, the shootout, I was so confident, even though they were going against Carey Price, I'm like, they got this in the bag. There's so much more skill in Ottawa, and they're not like, how long have we been, even when Carlson and Stone, maybe not Carlson and Stone, but around then, like Ottawa was never like a super offensive team with a bunch of that offensive flair. But now you can at least look over to Quebec and be like, well, they're more skilled than these guys, right? Just nothing over in Montreal in terms of skill, but I'm going to flip the script for skill. I think Edmonton needs to be taken more seriously because they were one of the best top 5 team in the league at the pause last season. Never really got their feet in the bubble. The problem with them is goaltending, obviously, but a goalie can get hot, and when you have Connor McDavid, which is the best player this generation's ever seen, and then Leon Draisaitl, no sludge himself. That first game against Ottawa when Hogberg was in net, or I think it was Hogberg. I can't remember that first one, but Chabot was out, and I'm going into this game like this is going to be an absolute thumping. Yeah. And they scored 4 goals in the first 10 minutes or something like that. It was brutal, and it looked like they were going easy on them. So if they can figure out, and I think they have after those games against Ottawa, they seem to be hitting their stride. I think the top 3 teams are Toronto, Edmonton, and Winnipeg.
Yeah. That's probably fair. The only thing with Edmonton, though, that's a team I'm seeing as congrats on President's Trophy one day, maybe. But I don't see them making much noise in the playoffs because that depth just doesn't get it done. And when you're in playoff series, like I guess this season, you're kind of seeing similar. It's sort of like playoff series. You're playing teams multiple times, but you figure out ways to not stop McDavid and Draisaitl. I think that's pretty much impossible, but at least limit them. And then you say, if the depth pieces get a goal, like if Alex Chiasson scores against you, you know what? It happened. But if you can stop Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you're going to have a good chance at success against them and against the playoffs. So I'm still a little nervous that way. I think they really lost out on the Markstrom sweepstakes. I think they were in big time on Jacob Markstrom. That didn't work out. And then they're kind of like, well, Mike Smith, are you going to retire yet, or one more year out of you? And then they kind of just rolled back the same goalie tandem that didn't get them very far last year.
Yeah. So I've got 2 things on the Oilers because I do pay attention to them because they're really fun to watch, and I'm from Edmonton, so I got a little bit of a soft spot. But when you have Connor McDavid on your team, they have that extra step that no one else is going to have. And going into the pause last season, they were 1st in the league on the power play and 2nd, I believe, in penalty kill. And the penalty kill is, I guess, an underrated part of their game, but those are the 2 categories you need to be top of, especially in the playoffs. I do think, though, to your point about shutting McDavid and Draisaitl down, the Sens did it the last time they played. It was it was the first time Edmonton won without either the 2 of them getting a point since like 2015 or something.
It was a long time. Yeah, that
long time.
Yeah.
So Sens made history in a loss. There you go. But I would pay anything to see a 7-game series with them in the Leafs. I think that'd be so good.
It would be.
The media headlines and everything, it'd be a circus. But well, fingers crossed. We'll see what we get in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, back to our game tonight, I guess.
Off the rails.
Just otherwise, like Connor Brown, he scored that really nice goal. Really nice to see him in and all alone and finish one. He's been snake bitten all season. So many shorthanded breakaways and everything. can't ever get anything done. And he used his hands tonight. He didn't just take a shot.
Oh man, Jacob, that's been killing me all year, like driving me nuts. Like I think what game was it? I think the OT winner against Montreal, Connor Brown had a full clear breakaway on a line change, and you're thinking the Sens are going to clear the puck. They got a man changing. They're going to get a breakaway, and then 28, and you're like,
are you kidding me?
That's exactly what I said in our stream after the game.
Yeah, that's how it was. And but here's the thing. I swear Connor Brown only scored that goal because he didn't have enough time to realize he was all alone.
Yep.
And he acted naturally. He didn't grip the stick too tight and try to do anything crazy. Like he didn't even celebrate after that goal. Like maybe he needs to watch the replay and realize that he got one there, but he was just in and out so quick. But that was I think Nick Paul was the guy that turned that over, or someone had a really good pinch to turn that over, and that created that play. So the Sens, they're capitalizing on those chances. Like those were the games where Connor Brown would have those point blank breakaway chances, and he wouldn't score, and the Sens wouldn't win. He's burying those now. Like we talked about Drake being on a hot streak. I think Connor Brown has like 3 or 4 goals in the last 6 games. Like he's been hot as well.
Yeah. He really has been. And that's all on top of his great defensive game. So
yeah, for sure.
He's so good. He just does every little thing well except score goals. So, but I mean, you're like you said, Brandon, he's putting the puck in the net recently anyways.
I'll definitely take him as a sweetener for a Zaitsev contract that hasn't even been that bad for us.
Yeah, we were just talking about this with Ross last night or 2 games ago. Last game. Zaitsev, I mean, I game by game, I'm waiting for that Nikita Zaitsev moment, but he seems to have found a groove, and I think him and Shabbat look comfortable together.
Yeah, I mean, we're 22 games in, and I don't hate him yet.
No,
yeah, he's been good. Remember, he started the season with 5 assists. He was like the Sens leading point getter for quite a while, and it's crazy. Like the turnaround of Zaitsev. Like Ross and I, we did a full organizational value ranking. Literally, we ranked 64 Ottawa Senators players top to bottom. And he was dead last of healthy players. We had him ranked 62 of organizational value. And he's looking like a top 4 defenseman that I wouldn't say a bargain at that contract, but it's looking like it's appropriate. Like I'm fine paying Nikita Zaitsev that money for that time if he continues his play and if he continues to be the partner for Shabbat. Like what was the problem with Carlson a lot of the time until Mathot came around? All the random D partners he was having just weren't clicking. So if he can be the kind of Mark Mathot to Shabbat as Mathot was to Carlson, that's a massive win for these Sens in the future for sure.
So we also talked about this with Ross. We went ahead to the offseason to the expansion draft.
Oh, nice.
Because Zaitsev seems to be the odd man out in all the mock expansions that everyone's been doing. The only reason I'd be hesitant to leave him exposed, I don't think he would be the guy that's exposed by Ottawa that Seattle would want. But if he is, I'd be hesitant because Shabbat, Shabbat's another problem. He hasn't looked great the last 2 games. As good as the teams looked, he's been a little iffy. Still, though, he made a couple plays getting out of his zone tonight that were just like, wow, you can't, like no one else can do that.
He had on Colin White's goal. He was the guy that scooped up the puck behind the net.
I don't know. Yeah, he's in the corner. He's just like, you know what? It's point night. I'm getting 1, 2, boys. That's pretty much his mentality.
I'm not having zeros on the board here.
But the only reason I'd be hesitant is just because he seems to have found a home with Zaitsev, right?
Yep.
So, and we touched on it last game too. That's the snowball that started this rebuild that we're in right now, right? Mark Mathot getting picked up by Vegas.
Yep.
That Carlson was just brutal after that, and he has been since. I don't know if anyone else in this watching right now is keeping up with the San Jose Sharks, but he's not having a great start to his season.
Nope.
So I'd be hesitant because of that. I don't think it'd be as detrimental because there's guys coming up.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be a good thing to get that contract off the books at the end of the day. But man, the way he's playing, he's making a bargain for himself, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, Colin White finished the game off with a pair of goals. They weren't anything too flashy. I mean, we just mentioned the Thomas Shabbat play from the corner. That was a great assist. He just, I don't even know why he was the guy in the corner. Like, there's no reason for him to be there.
That was already there. Like, there's already.
Yeah. He just said, okay, I want to get the assist. Hold on. And passed it out to White, who was 100% by himself. And it was just an easy goal. And then his first goal was just kind of a light shot that went through the pad somehow. It shouldn't have been a goal, really, but I'll take it.
It was like a lot like Brady's against Price last game. Identical. Same spot in the net. It's pretty fun. Those are the bounces. I mean, that's 3 straight games, and all these wins, they're getting bounces. And I mean, it wasn't happening earlier in the year, but I mean, credit to DJ Smith too. He when early in the season when he was taking heat and the team was taking heat for not finishing their chances, he kept citing the analytics, saying like we're middle of the pack in the NHL in terms of creating chances, and they're going to go in eventually. And look at this. It's the most goals they've scored in a game again in the last 2 weeks after that Toronto one. Yeah. Right. So he was right, and they're sticking with the plan. And you just got to hope in the big picture Dorion does the same.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I'm confident he will stick to the plan. Because you don't go through the painful teardown that they went through to just all of a sudden switch up the plan and try to speed up the rebuild. Like, you don't trade generational talents like Erik Karlsson and Mark Stone. Like, that's generational talent. You don't give that away and then veer from your plan. Like, it's ingrained in them, and you're seeing the results. So I think things are looking good here, and it's been some lean years for the Sens here, but it's gonna be time to feast pretty soon.
100%. So we can get into our Senators 3 stars of the nights real quick. We can start with you, Brandon.
I think honestly, the first one that comes to my mind is just Colin White, like getting 2 goals like that. And maybe the rest of his game wasn't that great, but what I'm liking that I'm seeing from Colin White is the positioning. He's putting himself in spots to score, and he's burying them. Like, he's got a couple times, like, I'm pretty sure most of his goals have been kind of right in Brady's office. Like, he's taken a hit from Brady for sure. And that's the kind of thing I want to see from Colin White. Like, Colin White was never the kind of guy that had the dangles or had the great shot or had the speed or anything like that. Like, he's a good player because of his awareness, his two-way ability, and just his ability to play the center and the wing is really versatile. So I'm not sure if I'd say he's like first, second, or third star, but I'll say third star for him because that's the first name I thought of with 2 goals in this game. That's a nice one for Whitey.
For sure.
All right. And you go ahead with your second and first.
Okay. Well, second, I'm just going to take a look at the score sheet here so I can get some reference. But second, I got to go Brady Tkachuk. Like, anytime you get 6 shots on goal, 9 hits, he had a couple nice chances too. I got to give it to him for sure. Like, he just looked so good out there. Every time he's up against his brother, he seems to shine. And you kind of forget that Brady's the younger brother sometimes. Like, it doesn't seem at all that he's the one with less experience, less age, all that kind of stuff, because he takes the game by the throat and he really controls the game. I mean, geez, like you said, that quote you said, Jack, like even Matthew can tip his hat to him being like, this team rides and dies with my little brother. Like, that's insane. So he's getting second star of the game for me. And as a Tendy, I got to give love to the Tendies. When you shut a team out and make us, well, they didn't shut them out, but shut them down and only let 1 goal in on 30 shots. And you make a statement like that in the first game of your series up against them. And I don't think they have any back-to-backs. Maybe at the end of this they do, but it's likely we're going to see Murray for every single game here up against the Flames. I think they're only back-to-back. It might be a Montreal, Calgary, where they switch cities there. So we'll not see Decord up against Calgary, or Hogberg I don't think is going to be back in time. So if Matt Murray can really hold his own and play like he did tonight, this Calgary Flames team has got to be saying we're in a lot of trouble here. Those are my 100%. Stars, I would say.
Yep, for sure.
Right. Jacob, you want to go?
I'll go. I'll give my third star to Austin Watson.
Nice.
And that might be a hot take for some people, but just watching him, he was exactly what he came advertised as. And he's just making everybody happy to remember that he has 3 years on this contract.
At a nice price too, at $1.5 million. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Nothing.
like not a problem. Anything under 3, and I'm happy with that contract. And yeah, he's just like 3 blocks tonight, and only 14 minutes. He didn't play a ton, but he was really noticeable while he was out there. Like a lot of positive things to say about his game.
That's got to be close to a season high for him. I think he's been around that 10-minute mark pretty much every night. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and I'll give my second star also to Brady Tkachuk. He, again, like 6 shots, 9 hits. You can't complain. And leading the forwards a nice time. It's just, and after the game he had yesterday, to not really slow down. Like, he didn't get all the goals and points or whatever he had the other day, but he didn't really slow his game down. Like, he came out and played hard, and just night in and night out, it's what you can expect now. So
it felt like a quiet game for him, given what he did against Montreal. But when you see he had 9 hits and 6 shots, like he's showing up. He's everywhere.
Yeah, and I'll also go Matt Murray. We say most games that Matt Murray has a 900 save percentage, we're going to win.
Yeah,
he had a 967, I think, tonight, and you can't ask for anything more than that. So, round of applause to Matt Murray. So, all
right, I'm going to go. I'm not going to include Murray on this because I think the third period is a bit of a wash. He had to be good, but I'm going to go third star. I'm going to go Eric Goodbranson. Plus 3 for the big man tonight. The last couple of games have been really good for him. So when the D are playing well, he is too, and I think he's really helping Brandstrom. I think he's a great partner for him. For him coming into the league, anyways. I don't know where Jacob went.
He doesn't want to hear your 3-star.
Yeah, he's just had enough. And then let's see. Yeah, then I got Nick Paul at second star. I thought he was just Nick Paul tonight, Yeah. Couldn't have been better.
I feel like could be a 3rd or 4th star of every single game.
Honestly, we say his name every time. I think we do these. He's just win or lose. He's up there. You know what you're getting from him every single night, and it's great. He drove that line tonight, I think.
I would say for sure.
White. I mean, you touched on it too, Brandon. He had a little bit of cement boots in the first part of the game, and Dadonov wasn't skating at all. So Nick Paul carried that line and made some. You guys see that between the legs play he made in his own end in the third? Just getting a little fancy right in front of his net, a little risky, but it's still fun to watch. And then first, I got to go Connor Brown. I love watching this guy. Yeah. Just an absolute. That might go down as Pierre Dorion's best trade since being here. Not only do you get Cody Ceci out of here, you get Cody Ceci on the Leafs, and you get Connor Brown back in return. You can't, and then you sign him. I guess he's got a 3-year deal right now. So
contract there too.
Yeah, same thing as Nick Paul. You know what you're getting, and he scored a goal tonight, which is more than you can say for any other game, I guess. But
and to say Nick or Connor Brown, was even a 3-star, let alone your 1st star on a game where he didn't play shorthanded, which is usually his number one strength, is saying something. Like
exactly.
That's what I love about Connor Brown.
So big thing with him too is earlier in the year they had it was Tkachuk, Tierney, and Brown.
Yep.
Or they had Tierney and Brown kind of stapled together, and they're great together on the PK and everything, but they the creativity isn't there for players like Stützle or Tkachuk. I think Connor Brown looks great with Norris and Tkachuk. That's a really good line, I think. So I really I think he's found a home in that right wing spot right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And then real quick, we're almost to an hour already. Wow. So we can go through who needs to be better. We can start with you, Jack.
I'm going to go with Stützle. He had some bursts tonight, but he's really struggling in the defensive zone, I've noticed. And it's hard for a winger to feel engaged in the defensive zone, but I think he needs to be better at covering the D-man, because it seems every time he's on, they get really good shots. And, he blocked that shot in Edmonton that one game, and I feel like since then he just does not get in the lane. Like, he'll kind of go out of his way to not get in the lane. That'll come. He'll be fine eventually. I'm not overly concerned. He just needs to take care of the puck a little bit more in his own end, and I'm sure he knows it. And so does the coaches. Aren't going to shy away from telling him. So that's my guy who needs to be a bit better.
Yep.
He also needs to finish his chances, because he's had a lot of chances the last few games and can't score. So, yeah. Timmy. The 19-year-old.
Really, though.
For me, I'm going to go with, and we talked about it, I think Thomas Chabot does need to be a little bit better. And not to say he hasn't been bad, but he's not playing at the performance we're used to seeing from Thomas Chabot. And one thing I've noticed lately, as in like the start of this season, is Thomas Chabot can get a little kind of lackluster and weak with the puck in his own end. Like there's a couple times where it's easy just to lift his stick and sneak it off him, or I forget when it was, but he had that awful whiff of a pass and then the team just took advantage of it right in front of his own net. He's not getting pucks cleared out. Like it's just simple things that you would expect Thomas Chabot to excel at that he's just not quite getting 110% at. So this team, they ride and die emotionally with Brady Tkachuk, but I would say their play on the ice, especially their breakout, is so dependent on Thomas Chabot doing well. So
that's a good point.
I'm going to want to see a little bit better performance from Thomas Chabot here, but I'm also not convinced that he's fully 100%. I think maybe there's still some lingering stuff there. So we'll see if maybe a week or two later he gets a little better, but that would be my who needs to be better for tonight.
It was a lower body injury for him, right? That kept him out?
Yeah, I think so.
You can tell with the skating. He's a little...
And that's a big part of his game, right? So that's going to hinder him for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to go with one kind of on the same hinges as you, Brandon. Not necessarily played a bad game, just set the bar a little high for himself for the rest of the season compared to this game. But I'm going to go Josh Norris. I mean, he didn't play a bad game at all. He was very responsible defensively, as we've mentioned many times in these videos.
Yeah.
And he was there offensively too, like lots of chances. But only 40% on the draw tonight, which is very low for his standards. He's been 55 plus all season.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise not a bad game. Just not what we expect out of him lately.
Not super flashy. He had that one play over to Tkachuk in the second where Tkachuk gave him a bad pass and he still got it over to him, and Tkachuk had a nice one-time chance. But yeah, I've said Norris needs to be better a couple times this year, and I feel like the next game he always steps it up.
Yeah.
So maybe he's listening. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I do just want to say and celebrate that although they were up 2-0, the Canadians just lost 6-3.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Well, hey, that works perfectly into my who's overhyped Montreal and
there we go.
Better than I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, they were
Send
up 2-0.
Strike again. There you go.
There we go. Look out, Jeff Ward. Man, he's going to have a sleepless night.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, that's that again. Pretty long episode, but a great one. Like a lot of good conversations here. A lot of good comments from all the viewers and everything. So this was another great episode. Thank you for joining us, Brandon.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, anytime the Sens wins 6-1, I'll stay up all night talking about it. That's great hockey.
You should join us. You should join us at 1 a.m. when they lose 6-1. Those are the fun ones.
Yeah, those are the tough ones. That's for sure. Yeah.
2 a.m. on the East Coast.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you to all the Sens fans for joining us. Make sure to check out all of our Twitter and Instagram and our new Discord, which you can find on our Twitter page, as well as going and checking out the Locked On Sens podcast with Brandon and our last guest, Ross. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.